Why do we need a product operating model? At the beginning of its life, the typical product is managed and delivered by one team. And when it's one team, there are fewer dependencies. It's easier to connect to our goals. And especially if we're developing a new product, it's very clear that what we're trying to do hopefully achieves product market fit. If we're successful, we'll start to grow. We'll start to see demand for more and more functionality for this product. It becomes harder and harder to be aligned to exactly what is it that the product needs to be. And there's demand for more and more features. And the organization typically grows in a specialized fashion. And what happens is two main things. One is more and more of the work is structured as features. You can see it's almost impossible to see what is the goal, what is the compass, what are the outcomes that we're trying to achieve. More and more of the conversation is around scope and timelines. And it's also harder and harder to deliver these features because more and more of the features require collaboration across teams. This becomes even harder when we start to manage multiple products or start to work on initiatives that require collaboration across the company. At that point, the dependencies are even wider. And even though we created separate product groups, a lot of the work cuts across them. Maybe because of how we created these groups, maybe because we're trying to do interesting things across those products. But often everything becomes a project. It's very tempting to start to use traditional project and program management. Overall, if we look at the sort of work that we manage in a scale-up product organization, very little work is managed by empowered product teams. Much of the work is managed in a feature factory inside product groups. And a lot of the work is managed more and more as projects. So even though we might be an agile organization with a lot of the agile rituals, a lot of the work is managed in a traditional way, oriented around features, cutting across the organization with classic program management practices, even if they're masquerading behind agile names and techniques. So what do we do about that? We want to flip this pyramid. We want to create an environment where most of the work is managed in empowered product teams that focus on outcomes that serve the strategic goals that our organization is focused on, that would require us to align on what are those strategic goals, what we want to focus on, and what doesn't make sense at the moment might require us to create platforms and enabling teams, internal products where the goal is to serve empowered product teams. Some of the work will still be managed by product groups. We need to carefully manage this relationship between how much work is managed in empowered groups and empowered teams. Will still be strategic initiatives that require collaboration across the organization or attention from leadership of the organization. Those would be strategic cross-product organizational bets. But even these small set of projects, we want to manage using flow, limiting the amount of these projects that we manage and trying to close feedback loops faster and orient them around outcomes and steer them using evidence. So essentially use product thinking even for these initiatives. Overall, what we're talking about here is a healthier pyramid where most of the work is managed in empowered and product teams aligned to our strategic goals. Some of the work that we cannot manage this way is managed in empowered product groups. And a smaller set of initiatives is managed as product-oriented portfolio initiatives.